When you wake up to the sun clearing the mists over Transylvania and all the little villages and open country, and you can go along and eat your ham and eggs in the restaurant car, that's what rail travel is all about. You do not get that on EasyJet.
Hi, I'm Harriet from Byway and I'm here in Buckinghamshire Railway Centre.
Hello, well, I'm Mark Smith, better known as the man in Seat 61. I run the website www.seat61.com.
Thank you so much for joining us. I think maybe we should start at the name, the man 661. And I wondered whether you could explain where that name comes from.
Name, yes. Well, it's my favourite seat on the original Eurostars. I would treat myself to first class on the Eurostar if I was going somewhere special. So London to Marrakesh via Paris, Madrid, Algeciras, or London to the Crimea via Berlin and Odessa. I would book first class, and nobody likes a seat that doesn't line up with the window. So this seat lines up with the window. It's a table for two, so aisle on one side, window on the other, plenty of space in front of you. I hate staring at a seat back 6 inches from my nose, and it ticks all the boxes. So when the website came along, the name was already there, the man in Seat 61.
Can you tell us a bit more about the actual website, where the idea came from?
Well, it started with the momentous day where I finally finished my novel. Not the novel I was writing, the novel I was reading on the train home. And I went into W.H. Smith's at Marylebone to find something else to read on the train home. Found a teach yourself book about HTML, language websites are written in. Or a magazine, really. £2.95, probably the best £2.95 I've ever spent in my life. And it worked. I got a web page online. And I thought I would do something about the massive gap that I'd identified between how easy and practical I find it to take the train, not just to Paris or Brussels, but to Italy, Spain, Budapest, or even Istanbul. And on the other hand, how difficult and sometimes downright impossible it is to find anyone in the commercial world who will tell you how to do it. And by commercial world, I mean the rail industry itself and the wider travel industry. So it started life as one page telling you how to get to a dozen key cities in Europe. And it sort of snowballed. I never thought it would be, that was way back in 2001. I never thought it would get the number of visitors that it does at the moment, up to 1 million a month. And I never thought it would be my full-time job, which it became in 2007.
Where do you think your interest in train travel comes from?
I think it started with some school trips and some interrail trips in the 80s. I did a school trip to the south of France, an exchange trip to stay with a French family, and we took the boat train, the Channel steamer, and the overnight couchette train from Calais to the south of France. And then I went on a school Russian trip where we took a 1940 turbine steamer of the Russian Black Sea Shipping Company from Tilbury to Oslo, Stockholm, and what was then Leningrad. Caught a train to Moscow and visited Moscow, and then caught a train back to Berlin and on to London. And of course, these trips opened my eyes to what was possible. It's a wonderful way of travelling where the journey is part of the experience, not just the destination. You get to see where you're going. You get to stand up and walk around. You're not seat belted in. You sleep in a bed. You can go and eat in a restaurant. It treats people like human beings. So a love of travel and of the journey as well as the destination and of travelling in a civilised way, I think those all go together.
You've just got back from a trip yourself. Can you talk us a little bit about what that trip was?
It started with a family conference about where we wanted to go for our family holiday. And my daughter said she wanted to go to Castle Bran in Romania and to Prague, because these places feature in some books and things that album covers and things that she's interested in. And my son said he wanted to go to Budapest and Istanbul. And my wife said, wouldn't it be nice if we could spend some time on the beach in southern Turkey? And me being me thought, I know, I can put together a trip that does all of these. So I did, 5,000 miles from London to Kusadasi and Asia Minor and back again. I did have a moment of, oh my gosh, what have I done taking my family on this trip? But it all worked perfectly. The trains all ran, the minimal disruption, a few minutes late here and there. We certainly saw a lot on that trip.
You've presumably done a whole lot of rail travel over your lifetime, not just this trip, but loads of other trips. Is there a star train journey for you that is very special?
The Fort William sleeper, London to Fort William on the Caledonian sleeper, is pretty special because it ticks all the boxes. It's a convenient way of travelling from where I live down south near the Big Smoke, right up to the West Highlands, overnight time effectively. The train itself is a little hotel train with private sleepers, club car, and of course you go to sleep at 80 miles an hour on an electrified 6-track main line and wake up at 30 miles an hour on a twisting and turning single track behind a diesel in the middle of the West Highlands with deer bounding away from the train. And that just, I never get tired of doing that journey. But of course we've got loads of others. We've got the Bernina Express route in Switzerland, the even more spectacular and rugged Belgrade to Montenegro line, which takes you right through the mountains of Montenegro.
Is there any station that you think like just really is spectacular, one of those stations that you just want to spend more time in when you get off the train?
Well, we have to mention St Pancras, don't we? It's the starting point for our international journeys to the rest of Europe. It's a textbook example of how you should take classic architecture and turn it into a modern rail terminal. I mean, the blend of the two is brilliant. We could do with a bit larger Eurostar departure lounge, I think we all know that, but they're working on that. It is a spectacular station, but there are plenty of others. If we come to modern stations, well, Vienna Hauptbahnhof is a classic example of how you build a modern station in the middle of a city, replacing lots of termini with one through station, and it's a really pleasant station to use. But of course, when it comes to spectacular architecture, there are lots of others. Madrid Atocha with its tropical gardens in what was the old train shed. I would like the trains to go back into Istanbul Sirkeci because that was a lovely station as well. At the moment, they terminate at Halkale, 12 miles short.
What would you say is the best train dining experience?
Right, well, of course, there are cruise trains, including the Venice Sampler Orient Express, which has absolutely superb dining, both on its continental train and on the British Pullman. But you pay for that, and it's a cruise train, not a scheduled train. If we're talking scheduled trains, then Great Western has what it calls Pullman dining on a couple of trains between London and Devon and Cornwall, and a couple of trains between London and South Wales, and that is restaurant standard, and it's probably the best standard scheduled train restaurant in Europe. Other than that, well, I had a lovely evening meal and a lovely cooked breakfast of egg and bacon in a Hungarian restaurant car on the overnight sleeper from Budapest to Brasov a week or two ago. And when you wake up to the sun clearing the mists over Transylvania and all the little villages and open country, and you can go along and eat your ham and eggs in the restaurant car, that's what rail travel is all about. You do not get that on EasyJet.
Do you have any kind of tips or hacks that you think are just good to have on hand for when you're travelling by train?
Well, one of the problems is you can give tips for air travel because air travel is pretty much the same in every country worldwide. And that's a shame. It's become commoditised. Train travel is different in every country, which is at the same time part of the problem in understanding it and getting to grips with it, because every time you come up against a different website or a different country or a different rail system, it works in a different way. And also interesting because it reflects the country you're travelling in.
Yeah.
And it's different. It's not all the same. So it's difficult to give a one-size-fits-all hack. But if we're talking about European trains, the one website to remember, other than 661, of course, and Byway, is the German Railways website, intbahn.de, int.bahn.de, because that has a timetable that covers pretty much all of Europe. You can stick Stockholm and Lisbon into it, or Palermo and Amsterdam, and it'll give you train time. So if you want to know how long it would take to get somewhere by train, if you want to know how frequent the trains are, if there's a direct train, anything, just stick it into bahn.de and you'll get times out. It won't sell you a ticket unless it's to, from, or within Germany, but it'll give you train times.
It's that you are particularly excited about that have come out recently or are yet to come out?
Well, the Baltic states are back in the game when it comes to train travel. They started a couple of years ago with a Warsaw to Vilnius train service. Now, there's a change of track gauge, which means there has to be a change of train. But they've integrated it with one fare, one ticket, one booking, it all connects. And it's been immensely successful. They're actually going to double that train service and increase it even further in years to come. And then they've taken Vilnius, Riga and Tallinn and coordinated the timetables between those 3 countries that previously operated just within each country, completely uncoordinated. And they've made it possible to travel between the 3 Baltic capitals by train for the first time in years. It's now almost booked up soon after booking opens. It's been incredibly successful, but it does mean that you can now travel around the Baltic states by train. You don't need to resort to flying or a bus. And that's been incredibly exciting. We've seen a direct train between Paris and Berlin start up, a direct daytime train. We're seeing operators experiment with longer distance direct trains because there does seem to be a demand for it. Now people want to travel more sustainably. We've even got a Copenhagen to Prague daytime train on the cards in the next year or 2.
Slightly unusual question. If you could connect 2 places in the world by a train that aren't connected, what would they be and why?
Well, at the moment there is a gap into Greece. You can get there by train to Italy and by ferry, but in the 80s on my first interrail, 1984, I went down to Greece on the Munich-Athens train. Now, can you believe there were 2 trains a day from Munich to Athens? One of them was a day, a night and a day, and the other was overnight, through the day, overnight again, and a little bit of the next day, which is the one I took. And now there's nothing. There's no international trains to Greece at all. It would be really nice to see them connected back up to the European rail network.
Is there a train that you've not taken personally that you have always wanted to do, or have you taken them all?
You never get to take them all. I almost went on the world's highest mainline railway, the one to Tibet. There was a sleeper train from Beijing to Lhasa. They changed the Tibet permit regulations shortly before we were due to go, so that sort of remains unfinished business.
Do you love other transport as much as you love trains? There's mentions of boats on your website, so I just wanted to ask a bit about that. Where's the place for boats in all of this?
Oh, well, if anything, I like travelling by sea better than travelling by rail, because the facilities on a passenger ship with restaurants, cabins and so forth are even better than those on a train. Yes, if I can go somewhere by sea, I love it. I've crossed the Atlantic 4 times by ocean liner. I've arrived in New York more often by sea than by air now. And I think it's the only way to cross, staggering around an ocean liner in a dinner jacket with a martini. I mean, it beats travelling up 35,000 feet any day.